The storm came without warning. Heavy rain slammed against the diner windows like the sky was crying. Inside, where people usually filled the place talking and laughing in the evenings, only one man sat alone, staring at a plate of food he had struggled to afford. Rowan Hale, a single father with tired eyes and rough hands, had finally saved enough money to buy himself a real meal after weeks of surviving on instant noodles. But before he could take even one bite, he saw her. She stumbled into the diner like a ghost pushed in by the storm, completely soaked, shaking, her hair sticking to her face. Her sadness filled the whole room before she even said a word. Her clothes were ripped, her lips looked pale, and when the waitress asked what she needed, she whispered so softly the rain almost drowned her out. "Help, please." If you believe kindness still matters in this world, and that giving someone a second chance can change a life, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Bright Hearts. Your support helps us create real-life stories that touch people's hearts. Rowan didn't know why he stood up. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe her desperation reminded him of his own struggles. Or maybe it was the memory of his little daughter, Mira, who once told him, "Daddy, when you help someone, it's like giving them your sunshine." Whatever the reason, Rowan walked toward the stranger, holding his warm plate in his hands. He placed it gently in front of her. "Here," he said quietly, worry pulling at his voice. "You need this more than I do." Her hands trembled as she reached for it. She didn't just look hungry. She looked completely broken. She ate the sandwich fast, tears falling from her eyes and mixing with the raindrops on her face. Rowan felt a tight, heavy knot forming in his chest. He sat across from her, not eating anything, just watching to make sure she didn't pass out. After a while she whispered her name, Era Ven. She didn't say where she came from, what happened to her, or why she looked like someone running from danger. Rowan didn't ask. He knew what silence after trauma looked like. He had lived in it once too, after Myra's mother died, and left him drowning in responsibilities he didn't know how to handle. Era finished eating but didn't leave. She stared at the empty wrapper like moving away from it would take away the little safety she had found. The storm outside was calming down, but her breathing was still shaky and uneven. Rowan called Myra's school to say he would be late picking her up. Then he offered Era his jacket, even though it made him shiver. When she tried to refuse, he gently wrapped it around her shoulders anyway. Her eyes widened as if kindness was something she hadn't seen in a long, long time. For the next hour, they sat quietly in the warm hum of the diner. Era slowly relaxed, her body loosening, her face softening, although fear still burned behind her eyes. She told Rowan she had no money, no phone, no belongings, only the small camera she held tightly like it was the last thing she had in the world. Rowan offered to drive her somewhere safe, but she instantly tensed up and shook her head hard. She didn't explain and Rowan didn't push her. Instead, he gave her the little change he had left so she could buy another meal later, even though it meant he would have to skip dinner. She whispered, "Thank you," in a voice so fragile it almost broke. When she stood to leave, Rowan felt a strange dread, like he was watching someone walk back into a darkness he couldn't pull them from. She paused at the door, looked back once with eyes full of emotion he couldn't understand, and then she was gone. She stepped into the clearing daylight, and Rowan never saw her again. Not that day, not that week, not even that month. But the consequences of that evening came sooner than he expected. 3 weeks later, Rowan received a letter, a formal, classy one with raised lettering like something from a movie. His stomach tightened as he held it. Lawyers didn't send letters to struggling single dads for fun, and it was rarely good news. He worried it was debt or a lawsuit, or something bad he didn't even know about. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside was a very short message. "Mr. Hale, we request your presence at the Venn and Alder firm for a matter of urgent and personal importance regarding Ms. Era Venn." Era, the woman from the diner. The one who vanished. He read the letter again. And again. Then he sat on his couch, holding his head, trying to understand. Why were lawyers involved? Why him? Did something happen to her? Was she hurt? Was he the last person to see her safe? His heartbeat grew fast with guilt and panic. But he had to know. Fear couldn't stop him. The next morning, After dropping Mira at school, he took a bus across the city to a huge glass building that looked like it swallowed sunlight. Inside, he felt completely out of place. Everyone wore business suits. Marble floors shined. Everything looked expensive. And there he was, worn jeans, old jacket, rough hands from struggling through life. A lady at the front desk led him into a quiet conference room with a big window overlooking the city. Rowan clenched his fists to stop them from shaking. 2 attorneys walked in and placed a thick folder on the table. "Mr. Hale," the older one said, "we represent Ms. Era Venn." Rowan stiffened. "Is she okay? Is she safe?" "She is," the man replied softly. "Thanks in large part to you." Relief hit Rowan so hard he had to lean on the table to steady himself. But he was still confused. "I don't understand. Why am I here?" The lawyers exchanged a look. Then one of them slid a photograph toward him. It showed Era smiling beautifully, dressed in expensive clothes, standing in front of what looked like a famous art gallery. Rowan blinked. She looked nothing like the broken woman he had met. Ms. Venn, the lawyer explained, is a well-known photographer and the only heir to a very large family trust. But she has been suffering from severe trauma after a violent situation where someone tried to exploit her work and her private life. After escaping, she ran away without telling anyone. She refused help, refused protection. She simply disappeared. Rowan felt the room tilt. But she looked homeless, terrified. She was, the lawyer said. Trauma can strip someone's life bare, no matter how wealthy they used to be. The younger attorney leaned forward. "Mr. Hale, Ms. Venn told us that when she had absolutely nothing, not even hope, you gave her food. You offered warmth. You treated her like a person instead of a problem." Rowan swallowed. Anyone would have done that. "Most people didn't," the attorney said quietly. "You were the only one who did." Rowan didn't know what to say. The older lawyer opened the folder and pushed several papers toward him. "Ms. Venn asked us to give this to you. She has gone to a private recovery center and will stay there until she fully heals. She won't be reachable for a while. But before leaving, she wanted to make sure your kindness would never be forgotten." Rowan frowned at the papers. "What is all this?" The attorney gave a small smile. "It is a full financial grant in your name and your daughter's. Enough to pay for a safe home, child care, and 3 years of living expenses while you study or start any career you choose," Ms. Venn said, and these are her exact words. "He gave me a meal when I felt like a ghost. So I want to give him back his future." Rowan's breath caught. He shook his head. This can't be real. I didn't do anything to deserve." "You gave hope to someone who had lost everything," the lawyer said gently. "Sometimes that's worth more than you imagine." Rowan's eyes burned. He looked away, overwhelmed. The idea that one simple dinner, something he could barely afford, had changed someone's life felt unreal. But what she gave back was even bigger. Not money. Freedom. Stability. A chance to give Mira the life she deserved. He left the law firm with shaking hands, holding the folder like it was filled with sunlight. Outside, the daylight glowed warm across the city. And for the first time in years, Rowan didn't feel crushed by survival. He felt grateful, responsible, determined not to waste the second chance Era gave him. In the months that followed, Rowan's life changed in quiet but powerful ways. He and Mira moved into a small but safe apartment with no leaking roof and no creaking walls. He enrolled in a training program for technical drafting, something he had dreamed of for years but could never afford. Mira grew happier, made new friends, read new books, laughed more. And sometimes Rowan visited the diner and sat by the same window where Era once shivered in the storm. He hoped that someday she might return, stronger, healed, smiling. He didn't know if she ever would. But what he didn't realize was this. The world is full of moments where kindness becomes the bridge between despair and hope, even when no one is paying attention. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Bright Hearts. Your support helps us keep sharing life-changing stories that remind the world that compassion still matters.